Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Ms. Valeska? Present. Mr. Kaminsky?
Here.
Mr. DeSarno?
Here.
Mayor Morgan?
Here.
Mrs. Joffrey?
Here.
Mr. Kogan?
Here.
Mrs. McKnight?
Here.
Let's salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the Borough Council meeting of the Borough of New Providence, County of Union, State of New Jersey. Adequate notice has been given in accordance with PO 1975, Chapter 231. That annual notice of revision was made in conformance with Section 13 of the Act. I need, for Mental Health Committee, I need a motion for Nathan Howell and Candy McAloon.
So moved?
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, so be it. Approval of minutes for February 17th. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, so be it. Here we have correspondence, a Board of Adjustment, for Block 62, Lot 2, New Jersey American, rate change proposed. Fire Department, resignation of Andrew Sonnet, and we want to thank him for his service. PSE&G, changes to electric green programs recovery charge. Okay, any comments? Seeing none, we'll go to council business. Administration, Lisa.
Thank you, Mayor. We've got Resolution 2024-087. This is a resolution approving a request of the New Providence business community to sponsor community events during the calendar year 2024. So the New Providence business community graciously helps, sponsor some of these events. What we have here is the summer concert series that's runs through on Thursdays in July. In October, we've got the downtown trick-or-treating, which is on October 26th. We have the street fair on Sunday, October 27th, and in November, the holiday walk on the 29th of November.
Okay,
Just to ask,
advisory committees.
can I ask real quick on that? The fireworks show is going to be when again? It's in.
The borough's been sponsoring that on July 3rd.
So are we gonna? We're gonna. That's all good, covered. Okay. Thank you.
That's on us.
Okay,
That's on
us
this year.
advisory committee. Nadine.
Thanks, Al. Resolution 2024-088 is a resolution authorizing the application by New Providence Public Art Committee for the Summit Foundation grant. So we are seeking permission to apply for a $15,000 grant. I believe, as Councilwoman Belisca mentioned last time, all the funding for public art comes from grants and such. So they're putting through to this Summit Foundation grant to apply for materials related to the purchase, leasing, installation, everything related to public art.
Okay.
Okay, and actually, as an aside, this same grant is going to be applied for by the Mental Health Committee, but we'll talk about that resolution next month.
Okay. Okay, finance, Diane.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2024-089 is a resolution approving change order number 1 to Suburban Consulting Engineers, Inc. in the amount of $16,500 for additional services related to the project known as Digital and State Certified Tax Maps with GIS integration. This change order addresses additional services in conjunction with the professional land surveying associated with digitizing the borough's tax maps. The state had significant changes and comments on the maps, and so this supersedes the original proposal. And just a note, it's still a very good price related to the other bids that were out there. Resolution 2024-090 is a resolution authorizing payment of the bills payable list in the amount of $4,141,086.23. Significant items include the first quarter open space and added omitted taxes for the County of Union in the amount of $3,540,183. $133,422 to Ben Schaefer Recreation, which is the Lions Park Playground, and that's paid with capital and grant funds. $113,333 for Rapid Pump and Meter, and that's the final payment for wastewater treatment plant pumps and shafts, and this is also paid for with capital funds. And Johnston Communications in the amount of $104,484, and this includes infrastructure upgrades needed to be compatible with the county dispatch, and that's paid with capital funds.
Okay, legal, Pete.
Okay, Mayor, ordinance 2024-02 is an ordinance granting renewal of municipal consent to Comcast of New Jersey LLC to construct, connect, and operate and maintain a cable television and communication system in the Borough of New Providence, Union County, New Jersey. This is a renewal of Comcast's agreement that shall expire 10 years from the date of the expiration of the previous agreement. I just need to say that Councilwoman Belisca really did a tremendous job leading this effort and going through all the due diligence associated with it. Councilwoman, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, thank you, Pete. I just wanted to also shout out to our team, which consisted of me and actually Pete, our attorney, Mr. Rizzo, Stacy Maish, Alec from the library, Alex Menard, Bob Kalar, Brian Jeffroy, Jean Mikajanic, and Mark Andres. It was sorry, I'm totally tongue-tied after saying revolution. This is the success of a council advisory committee, right? So we had a purpose, we came together, we'll be formed again in 9 years from now to review this again. So just to give you a quick update, remember that cable is decreasing because of all the streaming services. I think we did a great job with this. It's renewed for 10 years. Our franchise-free fee has increased from 2.5% to 3.5%, and we have a $25,000 grant to meet the access capital needs. So all in all, and it's very similar to other renewals in the area. So all in all, thank you so much to our team. They did a great job.
Okay, thank you. Municipal Alliance, Lisa.
Thank you. Resolution 2024-091. It's a resolution approving submission to the Union County Division of Planning for grant funds for the Municipal Alliance for the fiscal year 2025. And this is awarding funding for 2025. This comes from the county. It's actually the local advisory committee on alcoholism and drug abuse and the Union County Board of County Commissioners. This year they're awarding $11,109. There will be some matching that will be involved and in-kind match as well, but that's $11,109 is what we'll be getting.
Okay. Public Safety, Resolution 092, and it's a resolution requesting the PBA 132 to sponsor the annual car show, which will be on October 5th down at the pool from 8 to 3 p.m. And that's always a really good time. And a raffle application for the same PBA, RA 1209, and that was probably prepared in the Public Works, Alex.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2024-093, resolution approving requisition R2400388 for Rapid Pump and Meter Service Company, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $53,460 for low lift pump replacement at the wastewater treatment plant, Bergen County Co-op number 21-13. So this is simply the labor associated with installing this low lift pump number 3.
Okay, committee reports. Main operations normal. Nothing. We just had a council meeting. So, Diane.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a lot. Board of Health, we're coming up. Pete, are you going to talk about Board of Ed? Okay. Board of Ed had their Teachers of the Year, and I'm just going to shout out to them. High school was Ben Rubin Schmierman, I never pronounced that correctly. New Providence Middle School was Leah Bromley. The AWR was Lynn Kowalski, and Salisbury was Christina Fukacci. So congratulations to them, great people. They just had the best meeting of the year, so with all the curriculum report, with all of the everything that's going on, so all the kids, a bunch of kids came, so it's great. Look online if you've missed that. And I believe most of our sports teams are going forward in their playoffs. So I know definitely basketball and the hockey team, so great for them. We had 2 kids at Wrestling States, and they didn't advance, but they did well. The high school, the musical is coming up, which is always a great thing, and fundraisers are going on soon for the schools, like the Tricky Tray and the Spring Flings and stuff. So a lot going on there. And that's about it.
Okay, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So planning board was canceled, so we did not have a planning board meeting this month. Capital review, we had met initially to go through some of the capital projects and our 5-year forward-looking project plan. Just want to mention the pickleball courts were one of the items that were there. Of course, paving roads and things of that nature. So we're continuing to look at that, and we'll have that ready for the Finance Committee, ASAP. Community pool, we had a meeting, Alex and I, community pool lease is up, I believe at the end of April. So we're just going through that lease and just making sure that there are a lot of things that we did every 5 years. Last 5 years ago, we looked with the pool on a lot of the programming that they do and things that the recreation does, and kind of work together and adding some things to the lease to make sure that they were, providing lifeguards or trainings or whatever, things of that nature. So there are some of those things that actually our community activities now already do. So it may not be necessary to be included. So we're looking at things like that. And lastly, community activities, just want to mention, I think Lions Park is open, right? So Lions Park's open, and I believe we'll be having a opening ceremony. We use some community trust monies there. I'm not sure. I haven't circled up with
Allison until next week, so.
Yeah. So just wanted to mention that.
Okay.
So,
Pete.
Nothing new to report, Mayor.
Nadine.
Just very quickly, I just wanted to report back on the status of our committee handbook. So Councilwoman Belisca has joined the effort, and along with Councilwoman McKnight and myself, we sat down for several hours last weekend, and we started going through it. We have another draft that we have to look at, and then we're going to look to circulate that around council to get their feedback and move forward from there. So we are in progress with that, and it's looking pretty good. And we did go to Lions Park today to try it out, and it's a lot of fun. It came out really, really nice.
How are the slides, Nadine?
Me and Alex, not this Alex, the other Alex. Alex and I went to the park. He really enjoyed it.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Alex.
Nothing new to report.
Lisa.
So this is what happens when you sit at the end, like everybody covers your
I
your
set
stuff,
you up.
right? So like I think I got everybody covered everything already, but the library board did meet, and as we know, every time I sit up here, I talk about the library. They're just doing a fabulous job over there, really, hitting away at their strategic plan. A lot of that includes community outreach. They've been really spending a lot of time with the different schools, different visits. They've gotten the teachers to get library cards and really just drumming up excitement for the library. They've been adding seating, making it really comfortable. They want to sort of market it as the your community living room, so to speak, so you could kind of sit for a couple hours, read, just make it homey. And they're still working on the reconfiguration. So if you go into the library, you'll notice shorter stacks, round tables, just looks more inviting, more welcoming, and it's evident by the number of people that are there. I mean, no matter when you go in, it's always busy, it's always packed, which is awesome. The last thing I want to add, let me see, what else do I have on here? The last thing I just want to say is the Community Service Association pasta dinner and basket raffle is this weekend. CSA works together with the Lions on this, where the Lions really does the bulk of the physical labor on this. They do all the cooking and the prep work on that. But the CSA has been pretty successful, and they've got 80 raffle baskets. This is their biggest fundraiser of the year. All the money goes back into the community to help our residents that need financial assistance, and it goes to Link. And just so there's so many good things. Get to the pasta dinner 3 to 8 on Sunday.
Where's it
At the DeCorso Center.
Okay, Bernadette?
Just really quick, Mayor. The governor gave his budget address today, so we're anxiously awaiting for our numbers for our own budgets so that we can introduce in March. We're hoping that we should get those numbers on Thursday. Traditionally, they come out on Thursday after he delivers his address. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time we have public comments. Anyone wishing to address council? Yes, Kathleen.
Kathleen Dolan, 12 Laurel Drive. You just mentioned about the governor's budget and that that's an input into the budget for New Providence. But I was just wondering if there will be, what the timing around this will be, and as you said, in March. And I just have the slide deck from last year. It was March 28th. So is there timing that the public can expect to see a draft? Does the public have an opportunity to provide input into the budget? I don't know if I should be asking Councilwoman Bliska.
It's the same process as last year. We'll introduce the budget. There's a specific timeline I don't have in front of me. We'll introduce the budget, and then I believe we had comments last time, and then at the subsequent council meeting to that, then we'll approve it. So there's an introduction, public can comment, and then there's another time. So it's 2 meetings.
Okay. I mean, is there any idea about when that first meeting would be, just to give people a heads up that if they want to comment on it, they should attend?
One of the 2 meetings in March, and it will be listed on the agenda.
The mandated.
Yeah, I don't
The
think
budget
so.
presentation will be on March 26th.
Oh, thank you. Okay. The other question I had is about the reevaluation that was talked about last year as to people's property values, and we haven't really heard anything about that yet, so is there any news on that?
One of the resolutions we passed tonight was related to the tax maps, so Bernadette, you want to talk a little bit about that?
So part of the reeval process is we have to update all of our tax maps. They've been with our consultant, Suburban Consulting, for
Okay.
at least the last 10 months. Every time they push out a product and send it to the state is sending it back with more comments. So it's part of the resolution they passed today, that the comments have now superseded what
Extra
they
money.
anticipated. So we're a little behind at this point, but we are making progress towards it.
Okay.
So we're hoping to probably go out sometime this year for a reeval firm, and then the timing will go from
Okay,
there.
so it may
You know
not
what I
happen
mean?
till next
It may not
year.
come until next year, just because
Okay.
of the holdup on the maps.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Michael?
Hi, it's Mike Baumer, the pickleball guy. So first, I just wanted to bring everybody up to date, refresh your memories. If you remember, the town converted one of the tennis courts into a dual-purpose pickleball and tennis, making that would be 2 pickleball courts, right? However, and that means like 8 people could play pickleball at once, 4 on each court. But the group that I play with from the rec department, we're all graduates of the rec department here, and which is a good program, by the way. We've got about 16 to 20 people who come regularly. It's probably the overall group is somewhere between 40 and 50. But 16 to 20, they'll show up regularly. So because of the number of people, we don't have enough courts in town. We play over at Tatlock and Summit, which wasn't a bad solution in the fall. However, as pickleball is getting more popular here, and I notice the rec department's offering more sessions again, Summit's doing the same thing. So people in Summit now are reserving the courts for themselves, understandably so. So that makes us really not having a place to play unless we go over to Tatlock at some crazy time. So what I'd like to suggest is that not to take away any tennis courts, but to make two more of the tennis courts dual purpose. So, you know, you'd still have 5 complete pristine tennis courts. You'd have now 2 more pickleball or tennis, depending on the demand. I don't know, I know there's permanent courts supposedly in the works, but I know no construction has started at all on that. So one thing I would like to ask in addition is if maybe the rec department could put out some kind of information as to where they are in the process, so the community is informed. Because right now, we're looking at, we don't have a place to play, we're not seeing any permanent courts. It's like,
Yeah, you actually just walked in right after I spoke on.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt.
On that. It is part of our capital review process of looking at monies that we're spending on everything recreation-wise and town-wise and whatnot. And we had an initial meeting on that capital review that goes done and it goes into the budget process. Bernadette can talk more about where we are right now in terms of the overall process of, you know, we have to engage our engineers. We have to first approve our engineers to help design, which we had already done, right? And then the next phase is approving them to go out to bid, and things of that nature. So
yeah, I appreciate all that, but my point is, you know, and I know it takes time.
So, Mike, let me just
go ahead.
interject. Councilman is correct that it is part of the capital plan to add additional courts. Allison has already done a purchase order to line Court 7. That was done in the beginning of February. It's weather dependent until that happens.
Oh, really? There are already plans to line another court?
Yes.
See, again, as pickleball players, we'd like to know that.
But you don't have to come here. You can pick up the phone, call Allison any
Right,
day and
right.
ask her. And you see her
Yeah.
most days anyway. So that's really a more effective way so that you would have information faster than waiting for council meetings.
Yeah, no, I
Right.
understand that. I'm just thinking, you know, I know the rec department puts out their newsletters. It might be nice to put out something and say,
Well, and
you know, we haven't forgotten
once
about
it
the pickleball
happens,
courts.
it'll be out
Yeah,
there.
Yeah,
But we're not, you know,
yeah.
It's also, it's a process, right? And we can't go
Sure.
out to the public and say, hey, you know, we're gonna build pickleball courts, you know, we can tell you that we're working on it, right? We can
Right.
give you information on the process, all right? But again, first we've approved our engineers to help design, and now the next step is to go out to bid. So that's the next part of the process. And then we get the bids, we budget for it,
Sure.
right, which is we're also working on, because it could be anywhere from, it could be $100,000 a court to $400,000.
Yeah.
We don't know, right?
Yeah.
Materials change, right, everything like that. So we're budgeting for it, right? We're gonna go out to bid on it. We're gonna receive those bids, and hopefully they come back favorable, right? And if they do come back favorable, there potential to be additional courts that we may be able to put in, right?
Sure.
Depending on the space, obviously, and things like that. So it's not easy to just say, hey, we got an empty field over here, let's just go put a court in, right? So, and we want to do it right,
Yeah.
right? We want to make sure we're doing it, based on the demand for it. You know, we want to put 1 in, and we need 2. If we have the space for 2, we'll put 2 in, right? If there's demand for it, if the cost is right, right? Or if it works within the budget, right? Not everybody in the Providence plays pickleball, right? So it's part of an overall, you know, budget for all of our departments. So if anything, you know, you've been well taken care of as far as Allison is really gung-ho for it. It's a great program in our recreation. As you said, you graduated from the indoor process, and now we're on.
Well, I'm still playing in it, so. I'm going to be playing in it for a long time, I think.
But yeah, no, it's definitely coming.
Yeah.
And honestly, you know, we also want to be careful of it costs money, right?
Sure.
So I don't know what the lining costs, but it's thousands of dollars, right? So do we want to line a court, or an extra court that we may not even need? Or are we just throwing money at something that we're going to actually have a better court later, so we may have to just wait a little bit? So you
Yeah.
guys are going to have to just kind of hold on for a bit.
Yeah.
But it's a process, and believe me, I think at the end of the day, you're going to be very happy.
Well, I'm really pleased to hear that apparently that another tennis court's going to be made, going to be lined. Because that's really, you're right, it's a huge investment for the town, and I don't deny that. I personally, and I think most of the pickleball players, a dual-purpose court, we're going to be happy with that. It doesn't have to be anything real fancy. And we could save the town some money, too. So, anyway, but I appreciate sorry I came in a little late.
Yeah, no good.
I appreciate all the info, though. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Carol Leonardson. I live 58 Fairmont Road in town. I actually have a handout to try to help me explain what my concern is. Are you familiar with E-Code 360?
With what?
E-Code 360?
It's ordinances. Mhm.
We have to, every time we have a new ordinance, we have to post it somewhere. I believe it's a law, yeah. And recently, I had to go out to E-Code 360. I was looking for the rules for when landscapers could start, because we had some concern in our street. And so, I should probably hand these out to you. I have one for each of you. And I have one for Bernadette. Who should I give them to? Okay. It'll just walk you through, because, so I was.
Thanks. That's great. Thanks.
So I guess when we have a new ordinance, we have to post it within a certain period of time so that everybody is aware of those. But when I went out to E-Code 360 for New Providence, I noticed that there were, well, as of now, 306 new ordinances that hadn't been applied to the code. So when somebody wants to look something up, it's tough. And then I looked around because I really wasn't sure what I was looking at. So I was looking at, I probably went to 30 other towns, and we kind of stuck out like a sore thumb because we have so many that are unapplied. And then I said, well, what about towns that are less affluent, like Elizabeth and Newark and Camden, and they're all caught up. So this packet, the first page is what I'm saying, and the second page shows the home page for New Providence E-Code 360, and you can see that there's 306 laws that haven't been applied to the code. So if somebody wants to look something up, they gotta go find the particular chapter, and then they have to go to the new laws and try to dig through it. And a lot of times there's updates upon updates, and it's kind of tough for a citizen to have to figure this out.
Carol, can I just jump in?
Sure.
We just received a quote from General Code to codify all of the ordinances. It's an $18,000 bill. We can't do anything until after the budget is approved, but it's on the docket for this year to actually update and codify all of those ordinances into one.
Okay, that's great. That's my concern.
That's what I thought, that we pay a company to do this.
Yeah, we just did 310.
But it hasn't
We
been
did
done
a
since
portion of it.
2005.
She is
Yeah.
correct. It's been a very long time. The project was started, and it's very interesting. Denise and I were on a call with them on Friday, and their way of doing it now is much more streamlined, where they used to hand you a book and you'd have to go line by line
Yeah.
and actually go through
Yeah.
and take things out. So we started the process with them, and it never got to the finish line, if you will. So this will bring us to the end and update us by the end of the year.
Okay, great. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I remember getting that book and having to
Yes.
take stuff out, put stuff in.
Yes.
I know it wouldn't be easy, and I can see why it's going to cost $18,000. So thank you.
So yes, thank you. We're on it.
And I'm sure you can always call if you have a question.
Yeah.
Yes, Alan?
Might as well make it 100%. Since the meeting is so fast, Alan Swanson, 47 Overhill Road, I am going to bring up something. At the last meeting, I couldn't come to the last meeting, but I watched the video, and there was considerable talk about the affordable housing, and there was a lot of talk about concerns about large numbers, and that there was some confusion over the legislation and what have you. That meeting took place after the Assembly had passed Assembly Bill 4, which is a major change in the entire affordable housing process. And of course, it's now pending in the Senate for the Senate Bill 50, which is scheduled to be voted on March 22nd. I suspect it'll be, by the end of March. The reason I came up is that I was concerned about I've been concerned about the negativity toward the affordable housing issue, actually for a number of years that's taken place. It's been usually described in a negative fashion that affordable housing is going to be destroy our traffic and be our schools and our wastewater treatment and what have you. And I just simply don't believe any of that's true or has been borne out. And if certainly,
Alan, could I just cut you off?
certainly in New Providence, certainly we have not constructed one single affordable housing unit since the agreement was put in. There are plans.
Alan, we were considered a good town. As we built over the years.
I'm not criticizing the town.
No, you made a comment that we haven't put, we have affordable housing all throughout the town. People don't even know it's here.
Okay, perhaps you should let me finish. And then, I'm not criticizing the past. I'm not criticizing your commitment to affordable housing. What I'm just mentioning in general, the perception of affordable housing across the state. I'm not here to, I'm not going to indict you for anything. I have no intention of that.
Okay.
I came up so that, to clarify some of the issues that were brought up at the last meeting in terms of concerns and what have you and the numbers.
But those,
that
again,
may be
I think
coming down
those
the road.
concerns, I don't think those concerns were about affordable housing. And I think, and that's where I think, I'm not sure if you're trying to or trying to represent that we had a negative attitude towards affordable housing at our last meeting, because we did not.
This is a problem. I have not said anything about you being negative. I have not said anything that you've done anything wrong. I've said overall there has been a negative perception.
You said you watched the meeting last week and the negative?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
just because it was a matter of discussion at the last
Okay.
meeting.
Just to be clear, it wasn't a negative discussion from
I
our.
understand
Okay.
that. The only thing that prompted me to come up is that there was an expression of some confusion over what the legislation was going to be, and I thought that, given that there was an opportunity for some time, that I would come up and talk a little bit about what that is.
Okay.
I have no condemnation of you, zero condemnation
Great.
of you.
Thank you.
Mayor Morgan will tell you that I have sat with him and I have said, I think one of the most positive things that I've ever seen you do is the zoning process that you went through and the areas that you selected to be rezoned for multi-unit housing. I wrote the affordable housing policy for the Sierra Club for the New Jersey chapter, and a significant portion of that was that one of the best things to do was infill projects. And of course, infill projects are to take existing properties that have been developed and to put the affordable housing there. Thank you very much. That's exactly what you did. You did an excellent job of it. You really did. And as I say, Mayor Morgan, I have pointed this out to him. I haven't had the opportunity to say so publicly, but you're to be congratulated for that. We don't have the issue that we encounter all the time in the Sierra Club at the executive committee meetings, where people are screaming about this or that piece of farmland or wooded area is slated to be torn down or developed. You didn't do that. I mean, I recognize that we don't have a lot of those kinds of areas in New Providence to begin with, but you took advantage of that, and I appreciate it. All that I'm here tonight to talk about a little bit is that I think that we need to be looking at this legislation that's pending as an extremely positive development in the process, because there's a very broad coalition of people who have supported this legislation. And it's interesting. It's an interesting coalition of people because it concludes NAACP, the Fair Share Housing Authority, the Habitat for Humanity across the state, and, interestingly enough, the League of Municipalities. They have been very positive about the amendments that took place on A4 and are very positive about what the amendments and the continuation of Senate Bill 50 and solving a lot of the problems that were created in 2015 when the Supreme Court took over the process. I mean, one of the really great aspects of the new legislation is the implementation of a system for determining the obligations in municipalities that takes into account what they call the Jacobs methodology, which basically says exactly what in that policy that I talked about writing, says that you need to be placing affordable housing in areas where there are jobs, where there's transportation, where the facilities, the infrastructure exist to support that housing. That is how, in the future, under this legislation, once it's passed, the obligation of each town will be determined. And each town will be able to have a greater role in determining that. And then the process allows for appeals from interested parties, as they say. I don't know what that definition is, but we'll find out. But all that I'm saying is I think that we're moving towards a really positive resolution of the statewide negativity toward the idea that affordable housing is a bad thing. It's a good thing. I mean, we're basically identified as being over 200,000 units short in affordable housing in this state. And this state, unfortunately, is identified as in the top 5 of the greatest disparity in terms of housing, income separation between those who are very poor and those who are very wealthy. We just don't have a good record in that area. And we're in the top 5 also, interestingly enough, in segregated schools. I just wanted to, I think that if we just look at this as a positive thing, that we can move forward, and if we're supportive of the additional amendments and legislation that's coming up, I think we're going to be able to really move forward in this state and make some positive changes. And that's all that I really wanted to come up and talk about. And like I said,
Thank you.
You guys are doing great, and that's why I came up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address council?
Council meeting today faster than I anticipated. Hi, Sarah Aarons, 99 Crest Road. So I don't have my husband and kids here today, but I do have fellow neighbors and borough constituents that have come here to support, so thank you again. My husband should be watching via live stream, hopefully. But obviously the topic I'm addressing here is the Hurricane Ida damage that affected the accessories to the borough's stormwater system that goes through my property. So in the council meeting on January 23rd, After discussing and debating this matter, it was decided that our next step forward was to have the borough engineer come out to assess the project with this particular question in mind. Is replacing the retaining wall the only way for the borough to maintain the stormwater system and fulfill its responsibilities? If so, there's an argument for the borough to take ownership of the wall, as per what Borough Attorney Mr. Rizzo had mentioned. So the borough engineer, along with Councilman Kogan and Councilman Comiskey, had come out to discuss the damage of this project on February 9th. I do not believe that there's been any written response or opinion on the matter from the borough engineer yet, despite the FEMA deadline for the second appeal having been yesterday. There was plenty of pathway, there was pathway for the borough to extend the deadline to FEMA, or extend the deadline for this second appeal to FEMA, but the administration chose not to take action on this, despite not having an answer to the question the engineer was supposed to answer, which would have provided insight for a decision on an appeal. It's my opinion all along that the strategy was to eliminate the ability for the borough to appeal to FEMA in an attempt to try and make the problem go away. So my family and I, as well as our supporters and neighbors, are beyond disappointed. It would have been a win for the borough to have 90% of the project covered through external funding. It's now lost to the borough that the window of opportunity to file an appeal to FEMA is gone. So now the borough doesn't have this 90% of the funding. It's just disappeared. But the problem hasn't gone away. And the liability for the borough has not gone away. The liability for myself as a homeowner has not gone away. The safety issue has not gone away. And I'm not going away. As long as the problem persists, which will be as long as this drags out and repairing these damaged accessories to the stormwater system, I'll just have to keep coming back to discuss and persistently, politely present to council to help and do the right thing. So there's two main topics I want to cover besides what I just went through, but one of them is regarding the unanswered question to the engineer. Now, I'm certainly not an engineer, but I do not see a way for the borough to fulfill its responsibilities of maintaining the stormwater system and all of its accessories without also replacing the wall. And I'll note accessories includes the fence, which the borough is already state claim and ownership over. But so I believe it's really impossible either to take out both the fence and the wall or to replace only the fence and eliminate the wall. I don't think either are solutions, and I'll explain. But I don't think either are solutions legally and in order to still fulfill the responsibilities of maintaining the stormwater system. So doing either of those options would leave around a 4-foot wide, steeply sloping ground between the concrete channel and my house and asphalt driveway that runs alongside the entire damaged area. So the legal aspect of this, the borough's easement area does not go all the way to the edge of my house and the driveway. And if the borough does not replace the retaining wall, it will affect and impact my property outside of the easement area negatively. So if the borough just took out the fence and the wall, or just the wall and put the fence back, it would create that slope and is then impacting my property outside of the easement area. I'm pretty sure the borough would not have the legal ability to impact or in any way modify my property outside of the easement area. Another point is that the wall really does serve as a flood barrier. There are high levels of water traveling with intense velocity in the stormwater system during heavy rain and floodwaters. And the wall serves as a barrier to the water and controlling the surrounding area from flooding. It's debated whether this was the original intent of the wall in the first place, but either way, it's become a critical part of the stormwater system over the years. And another point is that really this wall and fence combined really prevent land obstructions from entering the concrete channel. The wall does that, actually. It's not the chain link fence. Certainly land would go right through it. The wall prevents the soil erosion of the around 4 feet of land next to my driveway and the house from entering the culvert and filling with sediment. And if there's no wall, there will eventually be enough erosion to pull in the large plants and asphalt from the driveway and concrete blocks and stone blocks lining the driveway, perhaps even parts of the house will spill into the culvert at some point. So the wall really absolutely serves a purpose for effective maintenance of the stormwater system. In addition, and this is a key point too, without both the wall and fence, the area poses a big human safety risk and hazard. And that really is the reason why that fence was put in there in the first place. It was documented, planned for, installed by the borough at the same time the stormwater system in the late 1960s was. It was for safety. It's on the other side of the culvert. It's on the other side of the street, on the other side where the water's coming in under the street. So the fence is there in all 4 parts, right? And it's also why the borough has maintained and repaired and replaced sections of the fence several times when trees have fallen on it. The borough is very aware that this fence is for safety since it replaced and installed a huge section around 60 or 70 feet long with higher fencing in 2014 to increase human safety. So again, it reminds me again of Mayor Morgan's message that public safety is the borough's first and most important priority. But it kind of pulls everything together to a question I keep asking myself and wonder, or not asking myself, but asking everyone else too, that seems to have gone unanswered, is how will the borough replace its fence and therefore the stormwater system, or maintain the stormwater system it's legally obligated to? And how will the borough replace the fence without the wall there? So I had also had an opportunity, it's another theme or topic areas. I also had an opportunity to connect with Mr. Rizzo on February 9th as well, and I had one main question for him at the time. And it was in relation to the borough taking ownership of the wall and really what the negative implications of that could be for the borough. As in, why would the borough not want to take ownership and get FEMA funding? So Mr. Rizzo confirmed, as I expected and as I have heard prior, that anytime you take ownership of anything, you're now responsible for it. So if anything happens, deterioration, human injury, property damage, you're responsible. So it's about assuming liability and responsibility, and I understand that. So the borough already owns the chain link fence and has assumed liability and responsibility for it. So if the borough takes ownership of the wall, what additional increase in liability or responsibility is there for the borough aside from what it already has for the specific area? Well, there's the cost of the initial rebuild and replace, so financial responsibility. And the borough obviously had the opportunity to provide proof it owns the wall and legal responsibility for the wall to FEMA, but we're moving past that because that's out the window. But it also, I will note, in a new contractor estimate I received, it's the 3rd one I've gotten, the cost is only a fraction of a hyperinflated number that I had initially heard from the borough 2.5 years ago. And so for the record, the 3 estimates I've gotten on are from reputable contractors who work with engineers and also specialize in large masonry construction projects as well. The recent estimate was $21,000. It's way even lower than the ones I had 2.5 years ago. The borough mentioned casually in the past that it thought the real amount for the borough would have to pay is well over 6 figures. And I've even heard multiples of that 6-figure number at one point. But I don't believe there's any formal estimate for that hyperinflated number from the borough. At least I've asked for one, and there was none produced. Then there's the point about liability and responsibility after the wall and fence is replaced. So for maintenance, with a solidly engineered concrete block wall with geogrid reinforcing, there would be no maintenance of that wall needed. I mean, that thing will likely last for hundreds of years to come. And actually, I believe the responsibility for the borough would probably decrease as there's less to maintain compared to what there is today. And the wall would not need repairs or maintenance, and the fence, which seems to get repairs or replacement here and there when trees fall on it, et cetera, but it would likely need less maintenance than it has historically over the past decade or so. And for liability, I really do have a hard time seeing how the borough is taking on any additional liability. Certainly with the failed fence, the borough has a lot of liability right now. But with a solidly built wall and fence and the borough taking ownership of the wall, I think there would be no additional liability other than what the borough had with the fence prior to the disaster in the first place.
Okay, I think
Yep.
we understand, and you know, we've talked hours about this.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it to Mr. Rizzo, because
Okay.
he's the attorney, and he's gone through this. But I think the basic fact is it's an easement, and we can't use taxpayer public funds on private property.
Well, not for private property
Right.
purposes. That's
Right.
the point of this. I did go back after your last appearance, found a little more history to it, and just to go through. From what I found, some of this information I wasn't aware of at the time. Hurricane Ida happened September 1 of 21. You were in touch very quickly with Public Works, I think the Deputy Director of Public Works. Within a week, he had advised you that it was not the borough's responsibility. Of course, you disputed that. Not long after that, the construction official weighed in. He did some research and found that the culvert had been constructed in 1966. There were some construction plans, none of them which included a retaining wall. Your house was built in 1972, and most likely, as he put it, the wall was constructed for that purpose, for when your house was constructed. The then engineer, Andy Hippolyte of Colliers, concurred with that opinion. You then retained legal counsel, Ms. Alfonso, who served the town with a notice of intent to make claim or sue in November of 21. She claimed, or she put forth in that claim, that you were seeking $50,000 and possibly more from the town's insurance carrier for you to repair the wall. Now, to me, you don't ask for money to repair something if you're not recognizing that it's yours to repair. And that's what Ms. Alfonso did. Our insurance company ultimately rejected the claim, and Ms. Alfonso didn't pursue anything further as far as that legal claim. In the meantime, you, as it indicated, you had applied to FEMA. They gave you $158, I believe it was, because they said there was no damage to your house. You appealed. They denied the appeal after about 5 or 6 months. At that point, you prevailed on the town to make an application, which the town did. This is in 2022. And, you know, now this is just all history we all know. FEMA denied it because we don't own the wall. We appealed it at your request. The appeal was denied. Now you've been asking, you wanted an extension, et cetera, and I should indicate in the interim, Kevin Boyer, an engineer at Colliers, evaluated the situation, indicated the wall was not necessary for the drainage system. We had Ms. Raffi go out now, a third engineer, and look at it. Ms. Raffi is of the same opinion as Mr. Boyer and Mr. Hippolyte, so that's now 3 engineers that have said the wall doesn't serve a purpose for the drainage system. You want us to take a 5th swing at FEMA, and it's just futile. We're not going to do that. We're spending a lot of man-hours and money of taxpayers. I know you've talked about liabilities and legal responsibilities, and the wall is simply not our legal responsibility. And we cannot be using taxpayer money when it's not our property serving our purpose. And I understand you disagree with that, and I respect that, but that's the conclusion. And I think based upon my opinion and the opinion of 3 engineers, That's why we're not seeking an extension or intending to do a further appeal, and we're not going to be able to do anything with this wall.
So the appeal window is gone.
It is.
Yes, that expired yesterday, so that's not what I'm asking.
I realize that.
And I don't believe, so the question that the borough engineer was supposed to answer, based on the conversation from the January 23rd committee meeting, or council meeting, is that, is replacing the retaining wall the only way for the borough to maintain the stormwater system and fulfill its responsibilities?
No, it's not. I don't know any other way to answer that question. I mean, she said what the other two engineers have said. That wall does not have anything to do with the borough maintaining its responsibilities, as you put it, with the drainage system. She has indicated that. She was never going to give a formal report. I know you referred to a report, but that was not what the intention was. She has expressed her opinion, again echoing that of Mr. Boyer and Mr. Hippolyte, that the wall does not have anything to do with the borough's purposes in terms of that drainage system.
So yes, the wall is not part of the concrete channel, but
It's not just that it's not part of the concrete
Yep.
channel. Their opinion is it is not necessary for that drainage system.
So in the 1960s, the borough engineers and whoever was involved in the contracting of the stormwater system obviously felt that the fences were part of, or necessary and needed, and part of, to enable the proper functioning and flow of the stormwater system.
I don't know that. My understanding is that Mr. Johnson put in the fence I don't know if it was your request or someone else's request, but I don't know that that fence was put in the 1960s, as you say.
It's on the surveys,
Well,
and it's
but
part
that
of.
doesn't mean the town had put that in at the time.
Well, the fences are pretty old, so
Okay.
they
May
look
be.
like they've been.
That may be.
Yep, and the fence was there in 2014, and then it was quite low and served a safety issue and hazard, and so at my request, the borough had put in a much higher fence. Replaced the whole section, as I mentioned. So the fence obviously does serve a purpose for this system as it was intended in the 1960s. So regardless of the wall itself, like, and who put it in or what the intentional or original purpose is, I still don't know if I have an answer, or still don't have an answer as to how the borough is going to replace the fence.
The borough, I don't believe the engineers have even given any indication that that fence is necessary either.
Okay, so if the fence is removed, it presents the problems I mentioned before.
Well, you say that, but like I said, we've had 3 engineers look at it, and nobody has expressed that opinion. And again, and we've had this conversation before, that's
Okay.
an engineering opinion, not a legal opinion.
Yep.
But, you know,
I-
because we've had the opinion as to the wall, it seems to me you're now moving on to argue about the fence.
It's everything.
Well,
Sorry, so Councilman Cogan and myself had a conversation today with Andy Hippolyte.
Okay.
Unaware that you were looking for a written, document, and we asked him to prepare something,
Okay.
which he will do, and be ready for our next council meeting.
Okay.
And what he's going to look at is pretty much everything, was just mentioned. And one of the things he mentioned to me was in terms of the fencing, in today's terms, wouldn't even be allowed. Like, they wouldn't, if they wanted to put a fence in, the EPA wouldn't allow it, right? So, so he's going to look at that, right? He's also going to look at everything in terms of the structural issues, whether or not it's something that is important to the waterway, et cetera. So we'll have something official, written up with that, and we'll learn a little bit more about, at least I will, about that structure. I know you mentioned costs, right? So even speaking with him about costs, if it was something that the borough was to take on, there are a lot of different things that would require the borough to do probably a lot more things than a private homeowner terms of that type of a foundation, or is it that type of retaining wall that close to a foundation and things of that nature. So, well, I'm going to ask him to also, talk a little bit about that as well. So,
Okay.
and so it would be most likely more than a six-figure, expense for something that the borough were to take on. I don't have any specific details other than, the communications with Mr. Hippolyte. So we'll have that, I think, by the next council meeting for you, so at least we'll, have a little bit more information in terms of all the structural stuff. I know I personally came out there because I wanted to see it. I also wanted to, and I still do, want to, work with our engineers and yourself and council to see, and the mayor, what we can do, if anything, to help, make this, the best possible outcome we can for you and for the safety of the neighbors, right, and for, the community at large. So, all I can promise you is that, we'll continue to look at this, we'll come back to you, we'll talk a little bit more about what, if any, options are out there and what we can do to help you, to get to a good place.
I appreciate that. And I don't know Mr. Hippolyte. Who is he?
He used to be the borough's engineer,
Okay.
and now he runs the company. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, like Kevin and Marie both work for.
They work
Report to him. Okay, got it, and Colliers. Okay. Yeah, and whether it was a formal written report or not, I mean, I wasn't sure what to expect, but I guess I thought like I'd see some sort of communication on the matter from Marie on this, but, so I don't know exactly what she said or who she said it to or anything of that nature, but it would be good to get an official response of some sort as to, answering that question that keeps getting proposed, and also like how would the borough replace the fence, and even if they didn't, like how would that work,
I want answers to the same
Yeah.
questions.
Okay.
I think that, as Matt mentioned earlier, the surprising comment, not surprising for me, but that today's laws and codes, you would not be able to put the fence in. And that was a lesson learned for me.
Half the town wouldn't be able to build
Right,
now.
right.
So it's true, according to the Flood Hazard Act, the type of fencing required is not chain link. I mean, it's required to not use a chain link fence. It has to be other types of fences. But in speaking with the Department of Environmental Protection, the Union County engineer, where all the permits have to go through, she has said that, and I've talked a bit with her about this, and I said, well, what about the fence? Would it have to be? And she said, because it was built before 1980, it could be replaced with in-kind. So it could be replaced with chain link fence, technically.
Yeah, those are the things I want to see in a report.
Yeah.
In terms of, or maybe not even so much in the report, but in terms of just talking with the engineers and our administration and options and all that.
Okay.
But I do want you to understand, by them going through this with the engineer, it's costing us a lot of money. Getting all these things over and over again is costing the borough a lot of money, the
Sure.
taxpayers a lot of money. So, I go by what the engineers and what our legal counsel said.
It's true.
And I know you understand that.
I mean, I know Mr. Rizzo's talked about that he's not opposed to the borough taking legal responsibility and liability for this. It's really up to council to determine.
No, it isn't. It's not up to council, it's private property. And it's not up to council to take over private property like that.
Well, you wouldn't necessarily be taking it over.
Well, that's what you're asking us to do. You're asking us to take ownership of that. And there's no way we can take ownership of it.
I mean, I think there's two things. I mean, one, I'm happy to assign ownership of that area of the property to you guys anytime, but I don't think you're going to do that. I think it's more that, within the easement area, which is a right, it's not no ownership, I get that. But there's a stormwater system that the borough does have legal responsibility and ownership of,
All
right?
right, like I said, you know, I bent over backwards and tried to do what we can do to try to help you out here. We've gone through a lot of machinations and a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes the answer is just, we can't do it. And, you know, the council people want to go through this and spend that kind of money again and get the same answer. But, you know, I just, I feel for you, I really do. But, you know, I can't spend taxpayer money on private property. And, you know, it's just,
That's fine.
it just, it opens up the borough to a lot of different scenarios, especially downstream.
So, I mean, I understand that the whole idea of precedent, but there really, and certainly the borough has other easements in the borough. Like, there's other easements, for sure.
Right, to get to something to like,
Yeah.
clean out sewers.
Right.
Clean out a brook. It's only to clean the things out.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Well, this easement in particular was to build, construct, maintain, repair, rebuild. It's all in the deed. So, but it's specific to the stormwater system. It's not saying like, hey, you know, we can also, I don't know, cut out land and whatever. But, you know, there's really no precedent, I don't believe, being set here because there is no other situation in the borough that is exactly like this.
No, there is.
With the retaining
Downstream.
walls supporting a
Well,
fence.
there's people who, they have erosion problems. So, I mean, this is where we're getting into it. And, you know, I don't want this to morph into something else. And I can see it coming down the line that it will. And I have to protect all the taxpayers in the town. You know, as much as I want to help you, it gets to a point where, you know, if FEMA's not going to pay for it.
Well, the borough took away that opportunity, right?
Well, not really. I mean,
Could have filed an
we
extension.
appealed, we did everything. It's not our property. We cannot say that a piece of property is ours when it isn't.
Well, the whole stormwater system is not your property in that area. It's within my property. So of course you can't claim it's your property, right? Or the borough can't.
Right, that's why we have an
But
easement to clean it out.
Right, but it's borough's stormwater system.
But we went through this, you know, a couple Friday nights ago. I don't want to go through it again. I think that Mr. Rizzo laid it out the best he could, so.
Mr. Rizzo, didn't you tell me you weren't opposed to the borough taking legal responsibility?
That's not my
Right.
position, in terms of my responsibilities. So, no, I don't make a decision, but I provide advice and recommendation and discuss the legalities of it.
Sure.
So,
And
that's
Up
the
to
issue.
council.
Council.
Yeah.
I mean, our hearts go out to you. Every one of us want to help you out here, but we've come to the end of the road, I think.
I think so, too.
And, you know, if they're not going to do it, I sent you to Congressman Kane's office, and what they do, they punted it back to us and saying, "Dad, there's really nothing you can do." So, I don't know what more we can do.
I guess what you can do is just take ownership of it in the sense that like it's part, like how, like,
But
I
it's
don't want to
not
beat a
ours.
dead horse, but
In
like,
fact, you own the other side
the,
of
so the,
the waterway.
but the,
You actually own the other side too.
but the fence is the borough's, right?
I don't know that.
But we do know that because the borough's claimed ownership and responsibility over it.
I don't know that. Is there any record of that?
It's in this, it's in
Maybe
the
builder put it up
1960s
when they built
maps.
the houses.
It's in the maps before that.
But the builder could have put them up.
No, I think it's in the plans for the stormwater system from the 1960s.
Tonight's a focus on the fence, you know,
Right, yeah,
the goal, the line keeps moving, so I don't know enough about the fence, to be candid.
It's always been a question.
No, it really hasn't.
It has.
but I
I've
think
asked it
when-
several
When we run
times.
into a dead end on one topic or issue, then
Yes.
we're moving to something else. I don't have any answers to the fence because that really hasn't been the focus. So that's all
Okay.
I can say at this point.
It is, I have presented this question multiple times, though, like, how would the borough
In a-
replace the fence?
I
I
mean, we're
think
just
I
getting
presented it
into
last
I mean,
year,
I think I
last
didn't know
March.
that Mr. Hippolyte was going to do a report. I think when
Okay.
you get that, that should shed more light on the subject.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
okay, thank you. Appreciate your time. I appreciate the support and comments.
Okay, anyone else wishing to address council? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. I need motion for items 1 through 9, please. So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Ms. Belisca? Aye. Mr. Kaminsky?
Aye.
Mr. DeSarno? Mrs. Jeffrey?
Yes.
Mr. Kogan?
Yes.
Mrs. McKnight?
Yes.
Okay, motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No? So be it. Thank you all for coming tonight.